So ideally, we would like to see price turn this recent sell wall at roughly around $2.04 into support, trap sellers. Buyers then become aggressive enough to push through that $2.11 threshold that we mentioned on the 4-hour time frame and eventually gain enough momentum to engulf this entire bearish leg and break back above $2.28. Alrighty, everybody, what is going on? Welcome back to another CYPRX video breakdown. That was the previous update that we gave you guys on XRP's price action, levels to be mindful of, paying attention to. And so in today's video breakdown, we're going to go over an updated analysis on XRP as of January 5th, 2026, and levels to continue to be paying attention to. With that being said, let's dive in. So in yesterday's fundamental breakdown, we had talked about and read thoroughly through this fundamental report from the private CYPRX Discord. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. And in the report, we had discussed and talked about how if we wanted to see a risk on sentiment this week, one of the key contributing factors that we needed to see was signs of a moderating economic activity without a collapse in the United States. And today we got that. Today, we saw the ISM manufacturing PMI for the U.S. fall for a third consecutive month to 47.9 in December 2025, the lowest level since October 2024, compared to 48.2 in November and a forecast of 48.3. The reading showed the U.S. manufacturing activity contracted at a faster rate, led by pullbacks in production and inventory. So the market continued to see sell pressure on the dollar, an increased probability that the Fed is going to be able to cut rates at least 2 times in 2026, which has helped sustain the crypto recovery for the time being. However, in today's video breakdown, I'm going to go over levels that I'm paying very close attention to, so that way we don't get too overly optimistic and we understand what still needs to happen on XRP's price in order to see higher levels come into fruition. So real fast, as we heard in the previous video breakdown, let's head over to the order flow real quick. We had talked about and discussed back when price was trading at about $1.99 to $1.98 on the daily time frame. We had mentioned that in order to see higher prices on XRP, i.e., we were paying very close attention to this $2.28 sell dark pool for quite some time, which we have recently, as of today, broken above. But more accurately, we had been paying attention and mentioning that in order to see higher prices on XRP, we needed to see the $2 threshold, i.e. the sell walls on the 4-hour. We needed to see buyers engulf them. Then we needed to see support thrown up at these levels and areas of interest, and we needed to see buyers continue to become aggressive. Well, now you guys can see that that materialized and has come into fruition. If we take a look on the 4-hour time frame, just highlighting some key areas of interest in that previous video breakdown that I highlighted for you guys, this was that 4-hour area of interest that we needed to break bullish above. You guys can see the markings here that we had left from the previous video. Buyers made an attempt to break above the sell walls. Here you can see a bearish candlestick with buy volume inside of it, followed through with aggression and all of these bullish candlesticks, i.e. trapped sell volume, buyers turning this previous sell wall into a support, and then we followed through with support walls afterwards. This is exactly what in the previous video breakdown we had mentioned we would ideally like to see in order to see higher prices on XRP. And now for the first time over the past consecutive couple of weeks, we are starting to see that materialize. Now, again, not something to get too excited about, considering that we have a whole bunch of economic data in the coming days ahead. Make sure that you guys go back and watch the previous video breakdown that talks about the risk on, risk off backdrop that we could face in the days ahead in terms of fundamentals. That's not what this video breakdown is oriented towards. We're paying more attention towards levels and areas of interest. So first, taking a look on the daily. Now that we've broken above those $2 thresholds and made it up into our $2.28 dark pool, first looking at the daily sell walls. Right now, you guys can see that we have come up into the $2.33 sell wall on the daily time frame. Now, what I am paying very close attention to is in this bullish leg here, we are seeing buyers maintain aggression. Here you can see a aggressive buyer indicated by this buy imbalance, followed through with an aggressive buy volume. That was enough to drive XRP's price up into the sell wall, currently trading at around $2.33, where price now hovers at around $2.31. Buyers are starting to stall out slightly, The question now becomes, do we see sellers trap buyers at these highs, throw up a passive defense and start to push price back down into lower levels? Or do we see buyers hold support and start to become aggressive, pushing XRP's price up higher? So, what I'm paying very close attention to is if sellers do start to transact volume at these levels and trap buyers. Right now, the most immediate area of support that I'm paying attention to is $2.28, or the dark pool that rests at roughly around $2.28 to $2.27. If sellers can overpower buyers at that level, we break beneath that level. The next area of interest that I will be paying very close attention to on XRP is the buy imbalance or the aggressive buyer that existed here at roughly around $2.15. Those are the most immediate areas of support, where as long as we can hold above $2.15 to $2.27, I'm expecting a continued rally up into the next sell wall at roughly around $2.52 as our most immediate upside target. So again, as long as price holds above 215 to 227, we can see buyers turn these two levels into support, continue to become aggressive above, trap and engulf sellers and sell walls, and push with momentum and volume above these current levels that are acting as a resistance as of time of recording. I'm expecting the next upside target of around $2.52 to come into fruition. Now, seeing how these levels translate over onto the 4-hour time frame, you guys can see here again that last support was thrown up roughly around $2. And so even if price was to retrace back down into these lower support walls, as long as XRP's price can hold above $2, I will remain optimistic that we could see higher prices come into fruition. We could also see a scenario where XRP's price does not trail lower. We hold above the $2.27 dark pool, and we continue to turn the $2.27 dark pool into support and trail higher from here. And the last area of interest that I'm being mindful of and paying attention to is the $2.15 threshold. So these are the three areas of support right now on XRP, ideally that we would need to see hold in order to see higher prices come into fruition comparative to where we're currently trading at now at $2.31. A small retracement down into 228, turning that into support, seeing sellers get trapped, buyers become aggressive and pushing price higher. The second scenario would be a medium retracement down into $2.15, buyers trapping sellers, turning this into support, becoming aggressive and pushing price back to the upside. And the last area of interest where we could see buyers defend is a full-on retracement back down into where we had that break and shift in structure and momentum, where we broke above the $2 threshold, turned it into support, saw buyers trap sellers, throw up buy walls, become aggressive enough to push price higher, a deep retracement down into $2, buyers defending that as a support, trapping sellers, becoming aggressive and pushing price back to the upside. I'm optimistic that we will see this rally continue on XRP as long as we are trading above one of these three levels. Now, to the downside, if we were to break the $2 threshold, that would then open the door for a possible revisitation of $1.89. Anything below $1.89, if we were to see a risk off market sentiment and this turn out to just be a fake out and a buy trap, anything below $1.89 opens the door for the lower levels to come into fruition of anywhere between $1.72 and $1.69. But we have some levels to overcome and see sellers overpower buyers at first, i.e., the lowest level that I'm being very mindful of is the $2 threshold. As long as we can stay above $2 and these other upper boundaries on XRP, like I mentioned, I am optimistic that higher prices are set to come into fruition. So let's take a break from order flow. Let's head over to TradingView real fast and take a look at the dark pools. As of recent, we have just popped back above the $2.27 dark pool on XRP. The question now remains, can we hold above $2.27, continue to see price action supported, and see buyers become aggressive to push price higher? Or do we see this level turn into a resistance? Sellers trap buyers at highs, and we start to make our way back down into the range lows. To the upside on XRP, just in terms of our dark pools. As long as price remains bullish above $2.27, that opens the door for a $2.49 XRP, or a revisitation of the November 10th highs over here to the left-hand side. Above $2.49, that opens the door for a revisitation of 263, which is the level that I personally think we need to see XRP overcome and turn into support before we get excited of any higher prices. Reason being is because you can clearly see there is massive amounts of sell pressure and sell volume that exist here at these lower highs, where buyers made an attempt before to engulf, sellers overpowered, trapped buyers, and pushed price lower. Same thing here in this area. If we can engulf all of this sell pressure on XRP, I will become extremely optimistic of even higher price levels on XRP to possibly come into fruition in the near term. Taking a look at our updated institutional dark pools, in terms of scalp levels, you guys can see $2.27 is still highlighted. Slightly above that, we have 249 and 263 as the next key areas of interest we need to overcome before we see any higher prices on XRP. The highest institutional delta that we have on our radar right now comes in at roughly around the highest institutional scalp delta that we have on our radar right now comes in at $3.03. To the downside, $1.84 still remains on our radar, as well as $1.69. And below that, worst case scenario, $1.39, with the lowest level delta now coming in at 88 cents. In terms of our DCA dark pools, the next dark pool that comes in for our DCA levels to be mindful of to the upside is $2.56. The highest level on XRP that is on our radar is the $3.82 threshold, but we have a ways to go before we get there. So you guys now have updated levels to be mindful of and be paying attention to in the coming days ahead. Make sure that you guys are following us on YouTube to stay up to date with these intraday updates on XRP's price action. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the level-headedness and the accuracy that we deliver here at CYPRX. Remember, if you guys want access to these timely updates in an intraday fashion, you guys can always head over to CYPRXtrading.com and you guys can tap in with us in the private CYPRX Discord. Also, make sure that you guys go back and you watch the previous video breakdown as we discuss clear and concise the fundamental backdrop that we would ideally need to see in order to see higher prices on digital assets as we progress through 2026. We did a full breakdown reading the fundamental report from the private Zoom call in yesterday's video. Make sure that you guys go and rewatch that. As always, many blessings to you guys, keeping you all in the loop. Do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button and subscribe. We do appreciate the love and the support. And I will see you guys in the next video update.